Hey guys, and welcome to game number 59 out of 100 of the Mack vs. Machine series, where I'll be playing 100 games of Scrabble against the top online bot, HastyBot. We had a very dramatic win in game number 58, so be sure to check that one out if you haven't yet. But in the meantime, hopefully we can keep the momentum going strong here in game 59. So HastyBot will be first in this game. He opens with AE, so clearly he has a lot of vowels on his rack. And we've got the opposite problem. We've got a few too many consonants, including the X. Don't really think we have a good way to overlap with XI over here. We'd need probably an A if we wanted to do that. Could go with Bruxed through, I guess, either of these E's, actually, for 32. It keeps both ends, which isn't great, but at least it does unload some of our consonants. Could also go with something like Burned or Burden through one of these E's, which is a pretty big point sacrifice. I guess you could do something like Burned here to try to set up the X, but the problem is, I mean, you're going to need to draw an A to really use the X in either spot. So is it worth it? It's a 14-point sacrifice. I mean, XN is definitely better than NN in general, so that'll make up a decent amount of the 14-point sacrifice. And the question is the rest of it made up by the potential for the X to really improve with an A draw? It's probably close. I mean, yeah, the problem is without an A draw, like, what are we really doing with the X on the next turn? I guess the odds that we draw an A, there's 8 A's left out of 80 tiles. It's about 10% on each A times 5, which is about 50%. Not exactly, but pretty close to 50%, which is not bad. It's probably enough to make it worth it, just because NX is also better than NN in general. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with this. Okay, so we did pick up the A. He does bingo with pan-fried. And probably now just wax. I don't think we have any double doubles or anything big to this D that uses the X. So probably, yeah, we just want to play wax. So yeah, that is 48, so our play will pay off. And EFIN is not a bad leave at all, so I think that seems pretty reasonable. Okay, so he just plays Pooh for 14, clearly close to a bingo. We do have a nice draw of the blank, so we will be bingoing through this R. We have inferred and a double-double. That seems perfectly fine. Maybe something here would be a little better, because with inferred, we're floating a couple more tiles than we would be if we bingo one spot to the right. So it's worth just spending a couple seconds to see if there's anything else, but I don't see it. Refiners, refinery. Is there anything else? Fingerer, I believe, is good, but that's not a double-double. Yeah, I don't see it immediately, and it's not worth spending the extra time. So let's just go ahead and play inferred. Okay, and he does bingo through that N with sad irons. Still a pretty even game. Pick up the Q, which is not great. We could just drop it here. I don't love this sleeve, though. It's a bit too vowel heavy. The M and the V don't go particularly well together. If we keep the Q, though, what's our best option, realistically? Not much. It's definitely not worth exchanging. This sleeve isn't so bad that I wouldn't just take the 21 for the Q. And this also does shut down some of his options in terms of both bingos and scoring, which is nice at least. Yeah, I just don't really see a good place to play move or anything like that. I mean, we could score 20. This also gives, 23. This also gives back a lot. And I'd rather just, I think, dispose of the Q and see if we can pull another decent constant. Next turn, our options may improve a little bit. So I think I prefer to do this. Yeah, generally, when in doubt, I always advise to get rid of the Q. And I think this turn is no exception. So he plays Tenuto for 10. So clearly just a bunch of clunky one-pointers on his part. We pick up another E, which is not ideal. Pool is a little bit constant heavy, though, at least. So as long as we can get rid of a couple of our vowels, we have a decent chance of getting a more balanced rack on the next turn. Question is, how do we do that? I don't think I really want to play Eved. Yeah, there's way too many high-scoring tiles that could go there. H, two H's, an M, a W. That's definitely doesn't really seem playable. Maybe Nove? I'm not a big fan of floating that E for him to bingo through. Right now the board is pretty restricted for bingoing, and then E is a very good floater, especially in a constant-heavy pool. Not really dying to play Oma, which would score well since it keeps 3 E's. Have anything here? Not really. Nothing here. We don't have any 5s on this rack, unfortunately. Huh. I mean, you could make the argument for Eve, given he clearly didn't keep any high pointers on the last turn, but the problem is he's still drawing 5 tiles, so his rack is pretty random. Maybe Fovea, actually. That's not bad. Yeah, I think I kind of like this. I feel pretty confident it's worth the 2-point sacrifice not to play Nove, and open that all up. Like, I'm not in a bad position after this. I've got a 20-point lead. It's a pretty tight board. I mean, I'm not in a great position, though, because there's still a scoring spot here next to Sad Irons. But EEM is a very good leave with this somewhat constant-heavy pool, so I think Fovea is fine. Not a great play, but it seems like maybe the best of a not-such-great set of options. Yeah, I just don't really think playing Eve makes sense, so I'm going to play this. Okay, he plays a nice play of Hang Tag through that A, which was not a particularly likely outcome, but yeah, he would have probably hurt us pretty badly after Eve with the H as well. So now, not a great rack. Probably just Emu here has got to be fine. I mean, 25 points, so tie game, keeps ACET, which is a really good leave. I have a hard time believing we're going to do better. Unless, do we have anything from this O that would score well? That would probably be the only way to improve on Emu. Don't think so. Out ace is not a word. I don't see any 7s. Couteau doesn't quite work. Yeah, I think Emu is perfectly fine. Okay, he plays ZD, and yeah, we've got a nice rack here. We have creatine, Ceratin, or keratin really, I think it's pronounced with a hard C, certain, and tacrine. But do any of them play? None of them play next to this D, and there really aren't any other 7 lines. Don't think we have any 9s over here, maybe through the S. I don't think so. There's no 8s through the I or the Z. So as annoying as it sounds, I don't think we can bingo here. Which is really annoying with a rack this strong. So does that mean we want to fish? And if so, where? I mean, if we don't fish, we can score, I guess, with like horse sign for 33. Hate blowing up this rack, but might be best on this board just given the lack of bingo lines. Don't think we really have much to or through the Z. Nertz is pretty bad. ACI is not a great leave. Can't believe we can't bingo here. It is unfortunate. Yeah, I just don't really see. I mean, I just don't see a merit to like Koi, because think about it, right? I mean, where are we gonna bingo? I guess. I mean, let's see what even hits. Like an A doesn't hit, a B doesn't hit, a C obviously doesn't hit, a D I guess would hit anti-red, E would hit Aeronite, G, Tearing, Tangier, Granite, Gratine, and Ingrate. None of those would fit either. Yeah, Inertia doesn't even fit. Does anything hit with an... I guess Inertial would hit with an L. I don't know, is this really worth it? Like an O doesn't hit either. Probably about 25 or 30% to even draw a playable bingo after that. I can't imagine that's worth it at this point in the game. I mean, I could also play something here, like can. Oh wait, no, I can't even do that. What am I talking about? Dat is not a word. I'd have to play CI something, which I can't do. Yeah, I feel like I just need to score. I mean, it's Cortina or Orsine. I guess the E is maybe worth sacrificing a few points to keep. Also turns over one more tile for the blank, so maybe the 3-point sacrifice is worth it for Cortina. Yeah, I feel like an E is better enough than AT with that pool also being slightly constant heavy. I think I'm going to sacrifice the 3 points. I feel like this probably makes sense. Again, not a fun play to make with this rack. You really want to be trying to bingo, but on this board I feel like you're better off shooting for the blank and some of the scoring tiles. So let's go ahead and play that. Okay, so he plays a Jugas, which scores a lot. So now, yeah, we're probably going to have to bingo, but the good news is we did pick up the blank. Don't believe we're going to be bingoing immediately. We could play Koa for 26. Problem is, once he blocks the left, I'm a little bit concerned about the lack of bingo lines. Because at this point, I'm sort of assuming I'm going to need to bingo. I just don't see myself making up 53 points on this board without bingoing with a decent amount of scoring tiles. All 4 L's still unseen. That's interesting. I mean, I could go crazy with something like Kazoo. I just don't think I can do that. I mean, the idea is that if he uses one of these big openings, like if he plays on top, I can hit something through the A and vice versa. But unless I triple, I'm just worried I'm going to give him 50 points above here, and then unless I triple through the A bingo actually won't be enough to win. And even with ES blank, I'm not likely enough to actually triple through the A. I can't imagine to make that worth it. So I don't think, if I were down more, then maybe, but I don't need to triple. Maybe Nook to set up the S. That's not bad. Oh, actually, you know what? This is better. Oak. Yeah, that's a really good play, because now, I mean, he doesn't have anything, right? Yeah, there's nothing he can have in front of Oak, and it's really annoying to block. That's actually a really powerful play, holding S blank. Yeah, I really like that. Let's go ahead and do it. Okay, so he plays Weaved for a lot. And do we have a bingo with Soak? I actually don't see anything immediately, but there's probably something. Creoles doesn't fit. Is there really nothing? Cleomes, that also doesn't fit. And Close doesn't fit. Huh. Kool-Aid's also doesn't fit. Wow. Do I have anything to this N or this A? Not seeing it either. Wow. Kind of bizarre, but okay. So in that case, I guess we want to try to score something and play off a few more tiles. Just still shocked we have no 7s here that fit. But I guess I need to play quickly too with my time, but I just don't see it. Echelons almost plays, but no. Cineoles. Colleen's. Encloser, Ensorcell. Vocalese, yeah, I just don't see it. Opalesce, Escalope, Coalesce. Okay, so with that in mind, what do we say? We set up another S-hook? Just so that if he blocks one, we have another? I'm a little worried about falling too far behind, though. Yeah, I think I need another hook, though, because if he blocks one, it's going to be tough to rely on bingoing to the A, and I can score a lot, so I think this is probably fine. Wreck or Rock? Hard to say. I think I'll go with Wreck. Oh, well, alright. He's going to just bingo through the C and win the game. So that did not work out. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, now I don't even think I can bingo? Unless I have anything through this Z. I don't think I have anything that fits here. The yellows almost, but no. Yeah, he has no vowels, but he has decent scoring tiles. Yeah, I might be missing a bingo under my time pressure, but that's okay. Wouldn't win anyway, don't think. Alright, I just need to go. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure that's a terrible play. Yeah, I should have probably blocked that. And yeah, I don't know. Okay, so yeah, pretty rough loss there, 463 to 315. It felt a lot closer than that, and then after Albacore, just, yeah, I don't know, maybe Rec was not correct. I want to make sure I didn't miss a bingo on that turn. I didn't, yeah, okay. Maybe I should have just played Oliak, but let's, I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss a bingo there, but let's come back to that one later. Okay, so here he opens with AE. Yeah, he likes Brux. Exurb I didn't see, but that's pretty bad. I mean, Brux is pretty clearly better. I guess Unbend, that's pretty scary, though, of course, just given the S-hook. Yeah, I mean, Burned, I think, is the only play worth considering other than Brux. And it is an immediate 14-point sacrifice. So he's saying that it's a 7-point equity sacrifice and a 14-point sacrifice. So I guess he's saying that NX is 7 points better than NN in a vacuum, which sounds reasonable. But the X, again, I do have probably about a 50% chance of pulling an A, in which case I'll be scoring 40 with the X next turn, since I have 2 spots for it, one with XI above AE and one with XU next to Burn. So there is a lot of upside with this play, and just keeping duplicate Ns early on is really not great. So I think doing this is reasonable here. I'm okay with this play. He bingos, Wax looks pretty obvious here. Oh, interesting. Okay, I figured he probably had a slightly stronger leave with Pooh, but I suppose this makes sense. He just really doesn't have a lot of other options. I mean, I hate fishing with Rex like this, but you also don't really want to just play Arioso and give up your S and all your bingo tiles for only 18 points. So, yeah, I guess this seems reasonable. You do have an E to work with, a D, somewhat of an N, so you have some potential here. Yeah, it looks like Inferrer and Inferred are the only double-doubles. D-Friend actually scores almost as much. It scores 88 points, but clearly seems better to play through this R. It still closes down a little bit more, and you don't really want to be putting a tile in a triple-triple lane like that after a clearly fishy play. Unfortunately, I did give him one of the tiles he needed for a bingo here with the N for Sad Irons. And yeah, he wants me to play Move. I thought about it. I mean, maybe I should have done that. I just hate keeping the Q. I mean, there are 3 U's unseen, so maybe that's the argument. And I guess I could also, now that I think of it, I actually could draw a T for Cot, and there's all 6 T's unseen. I didn't see that during the game, unfortunately, and an I gives me Cotty. So maybe yeah, you know, it may be that the Q just actually has more potential to improve than the rest of my rack does. I sort of figured that if I can pick up a consonant here, if I especially can pick up like an R for Removed or something like that, or an N for Venomed, I did feel like this had some potential to improve. Even an I would give me Movie, which would be considerably better than Moved, or Move. Of course, I drew an E, which was one of the worst tiles I could pull with this rack, but I did feel like it had some potential to improve, and I just hated making this play. I mean, it sets up an R hook, a D hook, and an S hook, and I don't have any of them, so I really didn't like that. I mean, I guess I could play Move over here also for 20, which does set up another spot for QAT if I draw the T. So, I don't know, it's close. I mean, maybe just with so many T's and 3 U's unseen, it does make sense to play Move. Also, the I's, 5 I's for Cotty. So yeah, okay, I can kind of live with it. I think maybe this was a small mistake. I mean, normally, I'm always like, get rid of the Q ASAP, but just given how many bailout tiles there are with all the T's and the I's and the U unseen, and you're giving yourself 4 chances to draw them, I actually think Move is probably a little bit better, just because, I mean, this rack, yeah, it does have some potential to improve, but not a ton. I probably overestimated it a little bit, so I do think, yeah, I probably actually would do Move if I had to do it again. I'd say this is a small mistake. Really ugly looking rack for him. Yeah, Tenuto looks fine. Newton looks like it would have been perfectly fine as well. NT, yeah, I think it's slightly better than OT in general, and the pool is pretty even in vowels and consonants. If it was a very consonant-heavy pool, you might want to go with OT, but in a fairly balanced pool, I think NT does seem a little bit better. Eve, no. Yeah, that's definitely not happening. What did I even play here? I played Fovea, which is way down here. Yeah, Eved, I mean, it's lowest on equity of all these plays, but not by much, right? I'm giving up only about 4 points on equity over Eved, and Eved has to give up more than 4 on average, because like I said, even though I know he's keeping 2 1-point tiles, very, very likely with Tenuto, he's drawing 5, so his odds of picking up the H, one of the H's, the W, the M, or something like that, that'll score a lot there. I mean, I do have the M myself, so I do have some upside, but I just really didn't feel like it was worth it. I mean, he's going to have, like, probably almost a 50% shot at drawing one of those tiles and scoring 40 points. So it's just not a risk I need to take at this point, really. Eve here has very major issues because it sets up the L hook for leave, and there's 4 of them unseen. Also an R hook for Reeve, and the H hook for Heave, actually, yeah. So this would be a disaster. Move keeping 3 vowels makes no sense. I saw Oma, didn't want to keep 3 E's. Yeah, I guess there just really aren't a lot of good options. Nove, I almost played 2. I decided to sacrifice 2 points for Fovea just to not float an E, and also that could give back big plays like Jeeps or something too, even if not a bingo. So I think it's reasonable. This did backfire a bit since it gave him hang tag, but that's a much less likely outcome, right? A 7 with the A in the 6th spot. That's way less likely to happen than an easy 4 after Eve or something like that. Emu looks fine. Oh, a Sedum I didn't see, which is an interesting play. I mean, the upside of this, right, is that it does play off more tiles to try to go for the S's, the blank especially, maybe the Z. It also, of course, does give back quite a bit, though, by putting that A in the triple-triple line, which is not ideal. If I were down more, probably a Sedum, but I think Emu is reasonable at this score. I mean, ACET is a very well-balanced leave. It still scores pretty well. It takes out the easy ZA spot. I think Emu still has a lot of merit. I mean, yeah, if a Sedum didn't open, I guess I could also play a Sedum here, which maybe is a little bit better. I think if I were going to play a Sedum, I would play it here, just to be a little bit safer. Yeah, you could make the argument that ACET on this board is actually not that great a leave. The C does help a little bit because I'm reasonably likely to draw 7s to score well through this O. But yeah, you may be better off just digging deeper into the bag here. You probably are, actually. I think this is a small mistake. Just play a Sedum to try to give yourself a better chance at, drawing the better tiles. ACET are good tiles, but on this board they're not particularly great tiles, and a Z or an S or a blank, even the H would be a much better scoring tile. So yeah, I think a Sedum is actually a little bit better here. So probably another small but not large mistake. Yeah, ZD seems fine. It's a bit of a constant heavy pool at this point from his perspective, so EAU, not the worst leave. Yeah, and this rack was so frustrating. I mean, I thought about Koi, and obviously it's going to rank highest on equity. That's no surprise whatsoever. But, I mean, fishing on this board just seemed pretty futile. I mean, it hits with some draws, but like, I mean, an A, an O, an I mean, Inertia doesn't even play on this board, and he's reasonably likely to play over here through to ZD, so I'd have to rely on a 7 starting with an A or an E, which is really not that likely. I mean, I'd have to probably draw like an E, an S, a D, maybe a couple other tiles that would work, but I mean, even an L wouldn't bingo there, even though there's 7 other words on that rack, 5 of them. So yeah, I just don't think it's worth it to fish. I feel like my play is fine. I mean, Horsine scores 2 more, which I saw in 3 more, which I saw and almost played. But I felt at this point, for 3 points, that was a relatively small price to pay for another shot at the blank and keeping an E, which is better both to keep a single vowel instead of a vowel and a consonant to offset the consonant heaviness, and the E is just a better vowel and more flexible vowel than the A in general, especially for bingoing. So yeah, I think Cortina, not a fun play at all to make, as I mentioned during my turn, but I think it's reasonable in this position. He plays Ajugas for a lot of points, and yeah, Koa is playable. I really like Oak, though, just to set up that S-hook, because it's really not that easy for him to deal with. And, I mean, I just have so much upside there, so that's got to be the right play. He scores with Weave, and this is the turn I think I may have gone wrong, because I set up another S-hook with Wreck over here next to Burned, but I probably need to score more points. I mean, I think him bingoing with albacore through the C was a freak occurrence. I don't think that's why it was a mistake, per se. But yeah, I probably should just play Oliak here. I mean, the problem is, I'm down 81. I need to score, right? Because even if I play Rec and hit a bingo there, he has a lot of good scoring tiles, as we saw, the H, the M, the P, and the Y. If he just scores like 30 somewhere, I mean, I'm going to be down 100, and he won't be emptying the bag. So even if I bingo there, it's just not going to be enough. I think that's the problem. Like, I need to score some more points, and it's not that easy for him to block Soak, right? I mean, he'd have to have maybe, like, My or Thigh over there. He really needs the Y, I think, to block that effectively. Because he doesn't want to sacrifice a ton of points. I could still bingo to this N or this A. So yeah, I think two things. I think, one, I didn't really, and I was low on time in fairness, but like, I should still realize that it's not that easy for him to deal with the oak hook. Of course, against a bot, he's even less likely to do that, but in general, I'm trying as much as I reasonably can not to exploit the fact that I'm playing HastyBot and try to play more or less like I would against a human. But even against a human, I mean, it's not that easy to deal with Soak, and I certainly could still bingo to that A, especially with ES blank. So I think probably I should have just played Oliak to score and force him to either leave that open and then allow myself to hit a bingo there that might actually score enough to win the game. I think, in Rec also, I mean, ELOS is a little bit more well-developed of a leave, but I actually probably want to keep less one-point tiles since I'll need to score a lot with a bingo. I really would love to get like an H or an M so that if I do bingo, I'll be scoring a lot more points. I think probably that's another reason why Rec is not a good play. So, yeah, probably a somewhat sizable mistake here. I mean, because I'm just thinking, after Oliak, given what he had, right? So he had ALBIORE. I mean, he could actually just play through this C, I guess, given he had the A. I don't think HastyBot would have actually done it, but a human would maybe play something like Lace, so that at least if I bingo with the S, it has to be in the second spot, which is pretty awkward. So that would be an option. But in any case, I mean, it's just, it's a little bit more uncomfortable, right? Because he's only down, or he's only up 60. I mean, he could also just play Oba over here and go up like 90. But I think then, at least if I can pull like an M and an H, I have a chance to score enough to maybe outrun. Because I guess, yeah, Oliak also would have left 4 in the bag. So that means, yeah, I mean, he would probably play 3, leave 1 in the bag. And then if I bingo for a lot, yeah, if I bingo for a lot and draw a single tile, I'll be able to play out. So that's actually better timing for me too, right? Because if I leave 6 in the bag, then it's just a lot easier for him to play like 1 or 2 tiles if he doesn't bingo. And then if there's still 4 in the bag, if I bingo, I'm much less likely to have a guaranteed out next turn, and it'll be easier for him to win in the endgame. Whereas if I leave 4 in the bag, if he wants to play for any points, he's going to have to play at least 2, if not 3 tiles, which means he'll leave 1 or 2 in the bag. And if I bingo, I'll have almost certainly an outplay on my next turn. So I actually will be much more likely to have enough to win. So yeah, I think this is actually a pretty sizable strategical error. And yeah, I mean, I sort of thought about it. I just got, I think, too fixated on trying to create another opening in case he blocked my setup I had. But yeah, given, again, he's just not that likely to actually be able to block it well, and I really do need those extra points, and it's better to play more tiles. This is, yeah, I think it's actually a pretty sizable strategic mistake. Hard to say what would have actually happened. But yeah, okay, so no bingos missed here, but I missed the loins for a couple more spread points, which is perfectly fine. I mean, I'm low on time at that point, and not an easy spot. But yeah, I played hellos. He plays Phylum, and I missed some better outplays. But again, down to 4 seconds, so not going to beat myself up over that. So yeah, pretty low scoring game, 315 to 463. Overall, I didn't play great. I mean, I think Oliak instead of Rec was probably my biggest miss of the game. I think there were a few inaccuracies early on. Emu instead of a Sedum, I feel like was a little bit of a mistake, and QI, I think, instead of holding the Q was a little bit of a mistake. Neither of them were large mistakes. Playing Rec instead of Oliak, maybe more like a medium, possibly even bordering on large mistake, just given all the different factors why Oliak would have been better. So maybe a little bit of a missed opportunity there. But, you know, this game definitely felt closer than the scoreline indicated, just because this Albacore was a bit of a freak bingo by him. But yeah, I mean, not too unhappy with this game overall. So, okay, though, there you have it, guys. Hope you enjoyed it and maybe got a little something out of the analysis at the end. And I will see you soon for game number 60, where hopefully we will fare a little bit better. So thanks again, guys, and have a good one. Bye-bye.